one control the others? Do body cameras really work?
The first cameras used by police were closed-circuit television, or CCTV, also known now as surveillance cameras. The technology was first developed in Germany in 1949, but this only had the ability to show live footage. The ability to record and play back wasn't developed until the 1970s with the video cassette tapes. The next major development in the industry was in the 1990s, when multiplexing became possible. This was when multiple cameras could be displayed on one screen and therefore one tape, making there less data stored. Currently, everything is digital and everywhere. Right now they are used as crime prevention, area monitoring, and as evidence in different ongoing police investigations. As technology progressed, dashcams soon became the go-to camera of choice for police officers. They were created in the 1980s by retired officer Bob Surgeon, and are a camera mounted on the inside front dash or windshield of a car and capture a video of what happens directly in front of the vehicle. Currently, 72% of police vehicles are equipped with them. They have been supported and funded by the Office of Community-Oriented Policing Services, and also Mothers Against Drunk Driving, primarily because they were originally used as evidence in drunk driving cases and other traffic cases. However, they are now being used as training tools to show new rookie cops what to do in a certain situation.
And now the new technology is body cameras. They are exactly as the name would indicate. It is a camera worn on the body of a police officer. They were first introduced in the UK around 2005. There are three main types. There is the helmet camera, one worn in eyeglasses, and, most popular, that worn on the torso. They are used to record police interactions, usually with suspects, and designed to show a situation from an officer's perspective, different from that of a dashboard camera. Currently, 95% of large police departments report use or a plan to implement body cameras in the near future. So why are they used? On August 9, 2014, in Ferguson, Missouri, Officer Darren Wilson stopped 18-year-old Michael Brown on the street as he matched a description from a convenience store theft. What happened next was heavily debated. Some say Brown assaulted Wilson or struggled for his weapon. Some say Brown was never even close enough to the car. 2 shots were fired from inside the police vehicle. The teen took off down the street and Wilson pursued on foot. Once again, the details are blurry. Some witnesses say Brown surrendered and put his hands up, but Wilson shot anyway. Others say Brown advanced towards the officer and antagonized him. The teen was shot 6 times, which proved fatal. The conflicting witness statements and the fact that a white officer shot an unarmed black teen made this case heavily disputed. The suspicion was furthered when it was discovered that Officer Wilson had a history of racial bias and often used racial slurs. Wilson claimed that he acted within the law and according to protocol, and it was his story against the dead man's. The grand jury decided not to indict the officer, but that was not what the people of Ferguson wanted to hear. They took to the streets, violent riots breaking out all over the city. Tear gas and rubber bullets were used against the rioters, the National Guard eventually being called in. The federal government did an investigation into the Ferguson Police Department after the incident and found a corrupt force. The department was almost entirely white in a predominantly black neighborhood. They regularly used racial slurs and stopped people on the street without probable cause. They were aggressive towards anyone who questioned police tactics. But it still remained that no one knew the full truth of what happened the day of Michael Brown's death, and they likely never will. After the verdict, Michael's mother began to push for legislation requiring police to wear body cameras. In her eyes, the police had murdered her baby and gotten away with it. Miss Brown wanted police officers to be held responsible for their actions, as she didn't want there to be any question of what happened between an officer and a suspect. If Wilson had been wearing a body camera, the details of that day would be clear. So this inspired the large push for body cameras. It was believed that the presence of a camera would encourage both police and citizens to be on their best behavior, or, if not, act as evidence to prove or disprove wrongdoing. It was also hoped that the new push for and presence of body cameras would rebuild the public's trust of police, who were quickly becoming the villains rather than protectors in the eyes of many. So now the question is, do they work?
The most famous study of body cameras was conducted in Rialto, California in 2012. 54 officers were randomly assigned to each shift to wear or not wear body cameras. The study focused on two different factors to measure success: the number of complaints against the police department and the instances in which officers report having to use force. The results were overwhelmingly positive. There was a 50% decrease in reported use of force by those wearing the body cameras compared to the control group, 8 compared to 17. And the body cameras showed that in all those cases, the suspect was the one who initiated violence. Comparatively, it was discovered that 25% of the control group reports of force were started by the officer. There was also a 90% drop in complaints filed against the Rialto Police Department, against the control and experimental groups alike. The good behavior seemed to be contagious. Just the presence of a few cameras on other officers promoted improved actions. The only issue with the Rialto study was its small sample size. At first, it would be unclear how effective the camera would be in a larger setting.
Although violent crime rates have steadily declined over the past 20 years, safety is still a major concern. Finding the best way to prevent crime is top priority. But as cameras and policing progress, they seem to have less and less effect on crime rates. CCTV remains the most effective at combating crime. A 16% decrease in nonviolent crime is accredited to surveillance systems. It is especially effective in parking lots, leading to a 26% decrease in vehicle crime. However, it has little to no impact on violent crime. Dashboard cameras are significantly less effective at crime prevention. In fact, they only have a noticeable impact when used by private citizens rather than police. The presence of a dashboard camera protects against carjackings and deters vehicle theft. Still, this minimal effect of dash cameras on crime rates is greater than that of body cameras, which show little to no statistical significance. The police dash and body cameras may be ineffective in part because they are reliant on the location of the officers. Generally, police arrive after a crime is committed, rather than early enough to prevent it. Body cameras made a promise to keep police on their best behavior. But do they deliver on that promise? The results are mixed and inconclusive. When studies were performed at 10 different cities in 3 different continents, approximately 50% saw the same positive results reported by the Rialto study. However, the other 50% saw either no change or an inverse impact. They experienced more use of force and complaints. Researchers found that these conflicting results could be due to police forces not following the study's procedures. It required that the experimental officers keep their body camera recording for the duration of their shift. It was discovered that officers who were free to turn the camera on and off whenever they chose had a 71% increase in their use of force, likely because the officers knew that there would be no evidence to show the circumstances, as they had personally turned the camera off. If procedure was followed correctly and cameras remained on for all encounters, there was a 37% decrease in force used. Thus, body cameras only have a positive impact on police force when they are used properly, according to protocol. But everything comes at a price. Each body camera costs anywhere from a few $100s to $2,000, with an additional $1,500 each for information storage. Detroit spent $5.2 million on their 1,500 camera system. Kansas City spent even more, budgeting approximately $6 million for 1,360 cameras, $2.1 million of which is strictly the initial startup costs. Forces then have to pay an additional $2.7 million every year to maintain the system. So who pays this hefty bill? Under President Obama, the White House had a plan to fund $75 million in order to help buy 50,000 body cameras for police forces around the nation. They would match the investments that police department made, helping to spread the new technology. Thus, the federal government will often fund half the cost of implementing body cameras, but the rest still comes from the individual department's annual budget, meaning the burden falls on the taxpayers.
Like most things, body cameras have their pros and cons. They are able to do some positive things, like lowering the instances when police report the need to use force, limiting complaints made against police, and acting as evidence in ongoing investigations. In general, they encourage better police behavior and work to restore the public's trust in police. However, they also have shortcomings. They don't really have an impact on crime rates, and oftentimes studies show very inconclusive data. Because of the limited perspective of the torso cam, it oftentimes does not show the entire situation, and it won't be able to change people's minds once they decide they want to see something. Cost is also a major issue. 37% of police departments that don't have body cameras currently installed report that the cost is the major issue stopping them. I can't say with confidence that body cameras do or do not work. They don't prevent crime like CCTV or give a full unbiased view like a dash camera. Also, they're costly. However, we can't ignore the fact that they do affect police behavior and limit citizen complaints. They also offer a record of police encounters and give the public the ability to see what happened. So in my opinion, we use them sparsely. We maintain dash cameras, but have body cameras that automatically go on when an officer leaves the car, which will then use less storage and cut costs. However, officers should also have the ability to turn the camera off for a very short amount of time, 2 minutes max, to maintain officer privacy when they go to the bathroom or have private conversations. Body cameras seem to be where the future is going, so we just need to figure out the best way to use them.
Information for this project was provided by